Welcome back to Fast RC, everybody. My name is Ryan, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the Traxxas Slash 4x4 and 3 things that I do not like about this platform. So stick around, and I'll see you on the other side of the intro. Alright, so let's not waste any time. I'm going to start off with the most obvious thing that is wrong with this truck platform. All the Traxxas Slash 4x4s, almost pretty much all the Traxxas Slash models. With the exception of probably the VXL and the Ultimate. But let's just start off with electronics. So if you've been in the RC hobby, you've been around Traxxas, or if you're brand new to this hobby, you're about to find out that Traxxas electronics out of the box oftentimes leave a lot to be desired. So if you're going with like a VXL model or a Traxxas Slash Ultimate that come with the VXL 3S system, you will be pretty happy with that motor system. I have a VXL system in my current Slash 4x4, and it's a pretty decent system. I wouldn't say it's my personal favorite. I actually like Castle stuff a lot better. But the VXL is decent enough, and it's plenty fast. You throw a 3S battery on it. But anything lower than that, it kind of leaves a lot to be desired, I'll be honest. The BL2S system I think is interesting, but it is a 2S system only, so you are going to be capped on speed. If you go any lower to that, or go back to like the brush system, you know, it's okay if you can hook up a 2S or 3S LiPo to it. A lot of times the brush systems on like a Slash, we're not going to be a 3S capable anyways, but those electronics do be, you know, a little bit to be desired. Also too, I'd be, you know, failing this video if I didn't talk about the servos. So oftentimes the servos that come in these trucks are a little bit lacking. They're slow, they're not quite as powerful. They used to come with plastic gears. I'm not sure if they still do. Actually, I got to check into that. But overall, the servos are just kind of meh. Like, they're okay to get you started. You know, if you do get a kit or a RTR or Traxxas Slash and it has that plastic gear or just standard servo, it's fine to keep that servo. But just be advised that when you do upgrade that servo down the road, it's going to be much, much, much better. So I don't know if I'd say if it's like one of the first things I'd upgrade, but you will definitely notice a difference when you upgrade the servo to something faster with metal gears. It's going to be more reliable and just overall way more responsive. So yeah, I had to start with the electronics, and then of course the transmitter and the radio system. Me personally, I'm a fan. I actually don't mind the Traxxas transmitters all that much, especially because I just bash. But if I was going to race, if you're going to take this thing to a track and try to be competitive, by all means, please, like, you're going to want to upgrade that radio. I've had an Airtronics M12 in the past that I used for racing, and that thing was lightning fast, way faster than a Traxxas standard Traxxas transmitter. So keep that in mind. The electronics are just kind of okay, or not that great. In some applications, they're downright terrible, depending on how big the vehicle is and whether it's underpowered or not. So that's my first dislike. I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't just get it right out of the way. So let's go ahead and get to the next one. And let's talk about the second thing I don't like about the Traxxas Slash 4x4. So I want to talk about the tub chassis with the LCG model in particular. I have this chassis currently. I've converted it to a street truck, but I'll be honest, this particular chassis is just a magnet for debris and dust and rocks to get caught up into your drivetrain system, specifically the center drive shaft that runs along the middle of that chassis. And it's just, there's not much you can, I mean, it's just the way this thing was designed, like the way that the truck, if you drive it into like loose dirt, rock terrain, stuff like that, the tires are just inherently going to kick up debris into the body, and then that body is going to reflect it or dump it right back into the tub chassis. And with it being a tub chassis, it just starts to collect a lot of that dirt and debris. I'll be honest, some of the last few times that I've taken out my truck to go drive in like grass and dirt and rocks, there'd be tons of stuff just packed into that chassis, and then I'd end up having to turn it over and dump everything out of it. It's a little bit annoying, and a big reason why I ended up putting a chassis cover on my latest build, which you've seen in some of the pictures with my Intimidator. It's a Lexan chassis cover that blocks all of that. Now it introduces a new problem with heat, so you got to be aware, you know, make sure you have fans on your motors and your ESC. But yeah, getting debris in your tub chassis like that's just extremely annoying, but it's something you want to keep an eye on. If you don't, what ends up happening is you get your center drive shaft chewed up and you get like lines. It's almost as if you put the drive shaft on a lathe or something. But that's number 2, so let's get to number 3. Alright, and the third thing that I do not like about the Traxxas Slash 4x4, I guess we're talking really about the Ultimate here. with the LCG chassis is, well, when I first got into this hobby and I saw the Traxxas Slash LCG model, I believe it was around back then, you would look at that Traxxas Slash and be like, wow, like 400, 500 bucks or 550 bucks as it is right now. You're getting like the ultimate Slash. And I guess in some cases it is the ultimate Slash, but just be aware that the way the Traxxas Slash LCG, the way that chassis sits, it sits very low to the ground. I'm talking like half an inch of ground clearance, really, at most. And then the way the suspension's set up, if you don't have a lot of ride height put on your shocks, this thing can really like sit low to the ground. So that has, you know, some pros and cons that you got to think about. On street, asphalt, clay tracks, that LCG helps it to handle amazing. Does very, very well on those type of tracks. But when you go into rougher terrain, I swear this thing is going to go flying, because you're going to be scraping the bottom of that chassis. And it's just, I'll just be honest, it just doesn't handle as good off-road. And I think that should be obvious, but if you're new to the hobby and you're coming in, that might not be obvious. You might be thinking, oh, I want to go run this thing on the grass or on some dirt. And you'll find out that the ultimate is not so ultimate when you take it really off-road around loose rocks and grass and stuff like that. So just be aware of that. It's something that I think is obvious, but I just want to point it out in this video because I don't see a lot of people talk about it, but it absolutely is true. Now, if you see my other video where I talk about things that I do like about the Traxxas Slash, you would know that this platform is very versatile. You don't have to stay with that LCG chassis. You actually can change it to the higher center of gravity chassis and give yourself a little more ground clearance. And I know in some of the forums that I go on and on Reddit and things like that, people have talked about that exactly, where they switch out their chassis depending on where they drive. And definitely the high center of gravity chassis does a lot better on off-road conditions. So keep that in mind. Wanted to point it out here because on the Ultimate in particular, it was something that I didn't really know about until you get the truck and then you find out like, wow, this thing really doesn't do that great on a really harsh terrain. So, all right, with that, let's go and get the final thoughts. And we're on the final thoughts. So a couple things I want to mention in my final thoughts. Overall, I think this platform is a really good platform, but there are definitely some cons. And just like with any other RC model you'd pick up from any brand, there's going to be pros and cons. And so some of the cons I try to highlight in this video, specifically with the electronics, the servo, the tub chassis, as far as like, you know, being a dirt magnet, and then just how the chassis and the suspension is set up on this truck. You know, just keep in mind that it's going to be good in certain spots, not so good in others, but that's what the whole point of this video is, just to highlight some of those things in case you were looking into buying a Traxxas Slash Ultimate or thinking of upgrading your Traxxas Slash to an LCG chassis. Those are some things to keep in mind. Overall, it's a great platform though. I have one personally. A lot of the footage I put on these videos are just my own Traxxas Slash 4x4. I've had this truck for almost 10 years and it's still, even a 10-year-old truck, still great going today. Upgraded it. So overall, still recommend the platform, but just things to be aware of. Of course, too, some of the other versions of Traxxas Slashes, like the BL2S versions, the two-wheel drives, some other things to note on that, just some of the components. Sometimes the shocks might be a little bit weak. At least on the Traxxas Slash Ultimate, they do come with GTR shocks, which are upgraded and have upgraded shafts, so those are a lot better. But yeah, overall, everything I highlighted in this video pretty much covers it. If I missed anything by any chance, feel free to comment. Otherwise, I will see you guys on the next video. I do have a couple, like I said, this is going to be a 3-part video series about the Traxxas Slash 4x4 Ultimate. If you're interested in that, go ahead and click on one of these two videos where I'm going to talk about things that I dislike and also go over a Traxxas Slash Ultimate build that is personal to me. So, alright, I'll see you over there and see you on the next one.